Hi there everybody, Ollie here, aka Secret Nimbus here, another episode of Magic Duels. So for today's deck tech, we're going to be looking at my Reanimator deck. So this is a blue-black Reanimator deck in which involves a lot of graveyard interaction. It involves putting a lot of big creatures on the board for kind of relatively little cost and without the correct mana requirements. And yeah, just a lot of kind of gimmicky fun. So to start off with, we've got the 1 mana Sinister Concoction. Running a couple of copies of this. Reason being is that we can use it to destroy creatures. Also allows us to put the top card of our library into our graveyard and discard a card, so we can use this as a way of dumping any of our big creatures that we've potentially drawn into the graveyard to then play them later on, so it's quite a nice utility card there. Then got Jace's Vryn's Prodigy. Early game, he allows us to draw cards and then discard cards. Again, allows us to dump cards into our graveyard that we want to later reanimate. Plus we then also get the bonus of potentially turning him into a Planeswalker later on. Got Telling Time to dig for any cards that we might be missing, such as our Reanimator cards or anything like that. It's just a nice kind of mechanic for that. The 2 copies of Prized Amalgam are allowed, so this is a quite a nice interaction with our Reanimator spells. So basically, if it's in the graveyard and we bring a creature card back from the graveyard, we then get to also bring back Prized Amalgam tapped at our end step as well, which is quite nice. So it's a good double whammy. So we can bring back one of our big creatures and a Prized Amalgam as well. We're running Oath of Jace. Reason being is that basically when he enters the when this enters the battlefield, we get to draw 3 cards and then discard 2 cards. So we can basically draw a lot of cards and then toss away potentially up to 2 of our big creatures that we want to then reanimate later on, which is quite nice. So it's a good turn 3 play, along with pieces of the puzzle. So again, another 3 mana spell which allows us to dump cards into our graveyard. So we reveal our top 5 cards. We can put up to 2 instant and or sorcery cards, although at the moment this is bugged, so it's only sorcery cards. But we're running very few instant cards, so it's mostly the sorcery cards that we want from this anyway, such as our Rise from the Grave or our, what are they called, Necromantic Summons, that's what I'm looking for. So yeah, so it's a nice card for either finding our Reanimators and dumping cards into our graveyard as well. Running a couple of copies of Tower Geist just because it's a nice creature. It's a 2/2 flyer, so it could potentially do some damage overhead. Plus it gives us the ability to look at the top 2 cards of our library, put one of them into our hand and the other into our graveyard. So it's good for mana fixing and then also potentially dumping again one of our big creatures into the graveyard. Mindwrack Demon's quite nice, so it's a 4 mana 4/5 flyer with trample. Also, when it comes into the battlefield, it also allows us to dump 4 cards into our graveyard, so it's basically a delirium trigger. Reason being this is in the deck is, like I said, it's got the ability to put cards into our graveyard, and then its delirium effect is that unless we have 4 or more cards in our graveyard, we lose 4 life at the beginning of our upkeep. So pretty much with this deck, because we're dumping cards into the graveyard left, right and centre, we never really have to worry about Mindwrack Demon's anti-delirium cost triggering, so we can just play him as a 4 mana 4/5 flyer most of the time, and then we've got the ability to trample in the air as well. 2 copies of Languish. So the thing about this deck is that sometimes aggro can be a problem, so Languish is there simply to kind of control aggro when needed, so we can sweep the board and then reset it and then bring back one of our big creatures the turn afterwards. Got Possessed Skaab, so this is in here essentially as another couple of copies of Languish, so we can bring it back by replaying the Possessed Skaab. We can also then bring back some of our Reanimator cards as well, so it's just a nice all-round graveyard interaction utility card. We've then got 3 copies of Necromantic Summons. This is the better of the individual animator cards, so one that brings back 1 creature, because it also has the ability to put +1/+1 counters on it as well. Rise from the Grave is okay. It basically does a very similar job to Necromantic Summons, but doesn't actually put the +1/+1 counters on our creatures. So they're basically there to do the same job, but we've got 1 less of the Rise from the Grave, as it is the slightly worse of the 2 cards. And then in terms of the first of our big creatures that we want in the graveyard is Linvala, the Preserver. So, a 6 mana double white creature. With our mana base, we're not going to be able to play this. We're only running blue and black mana. So this is one of those cards that we want to have in the graveyard to bring back with our Rise from the Grave or our Necromantic Summons or Ever After, but I'll explain that in a minute. So as we saw in the previous deck, Linvala also has the ability to gain its life or put extra creatures on the battlefield, which is quite nice. Then got Sire of Stagnation, so a bit of a late addition. So it's a 5/7 6-mana creature. We can potentially play this one without having to worry about reanimating it, but we can also reanimate it on turn 5 if we want to. It also has its extra ability where whenever our opponent tries to play a land, they exile the top 2 cards of their library and we draw 2 cards. So it's a nice card. It was like a late game addition which I decided to include. We're running both copies of Ever After, so for 6 mana, so 1 more than our other Reanimator cards, we actually get to bring back 2 creatures from our graveyard. So you can imagine on turn 6 we've got something like an Alhammarret and a Gaea's Revenge. We can actually bring both of them back, or potentially double Gaea's Revenge on turn 6, which is kind of crazy. If you think about it, but that's just the way this deck runs. We've then got 1 copy of Alhammarret. I did have 2 copies of this, but I was finding that it wasn't actually as useful as it looked. So for 6 mana we get a 5/5 flyer, and then basically when he drops we can choose a card from our opponent's hand. They can't play that until Alhammarret leaves the battlefield. We're obviously running 2 copies of Gaea's Revenge. Having played this deck a few times now, having Gaea's Revenge comes down is pretty terrifying. So it's nice to be able to kind of reanimate one of these on turn 5 without having to pay its mana cost is kind of crazy. Omnath, again, was a late addition to the deck. I saw somebody else's kind of similar Reanimator deck and was like, yeah, why wouldn't I include Omnath? So, you know, it's a 7 mana card, it's difficult to play otherwise, and being able to play it for 5 mana and then start triggering the elementals is pretty crazy. And then finally, we're running Ulamog. So again, we could potentially play this card if it stalls to the late game, but we kind of really want to play this card on turn 5. We don't get the exile ability when we bring it from the graveyard, but it's still a 10/10 indestructible which exiles the top 20 cards of our opponent's library when we swing. So in terms of the mana base, we've got 10 islands, 8 swamps, just because we're running very slightly more blue than black. It doesn't really matter. I suppose we could probably even that up. Actually, yeah, let's even that up. It's fairly similar. So, you know, 19 to 18 is basically, you know, 1 for 1. And then we're running, I think I took a few cards out. I was running like more blue initially, and it seems I've balanced it out and not actually corrected the mana. So there we go. I've just balanced that out. And then we're also running all of the, quite a few of the dual, sorry, not all of the dual blue-black lands, as we're only running 2 of the Submerged Boneyards, but we're running 2 of the other kind of the potentially ones that won't come in tapped. Okay, so let's finish off with the waffling and go play some games. Okay guys, here we are for game number 1. I could not really make out what that guy's name was. It was like Kitten Mitten, something like that, but you know what, this is actually quite a nice opening hand. So we've got the Jace, we've got the Necromantic Summons, we've got the Prized Amalgam, so yeah, this is not too bad of an opening hand. So obviously going to be dropping Jace on turn 2, start dumping things into our graveyard, hope we draw into a 5th mana by turn 5 so we can Necromantic Summons, hopefully something that we've put into the graveyard. What have we got here? So yeah, it's Kitten Mitten, rank 38 is game number 1 today. Okay, let's play out the swamp. We've also managed to find ourselves a Possessed Skaab, which is quite nice. So we could potentially bring back like another Necromantic Summons or something like that, which is pretty cool. What's really cool about Possessed Skaab is if it does end up in your graveyard, like say for example I've put it in there using the Oath of Jace or the pieces of the puzzle, you can actually bring it back using a Necromantic Summons and its enter the battlefield effect still triggers, which is pretty cool. Okay, so we'll play out the Sunken Hollow, and I think we will play out the Prized Amalgam. So at the beginning of each player's upkeep, if that player has no cards in hand, you draw a card and you lose 1 life. So we'll just be skipping attack there, dropping the Prized Amalgam. As you know, we've got the ability to bring it back later on with our Necromantic Summons, so we will be tapping Jace on our off-step. I don't know what card we're going to dump into the graveyard. I suppose it will depend on what we draw. So we'll be hoping to draw into one of our big threats, I suppose. Let's see what our opponent does, Mr. Kitten Mitten. So he's got red, white and black so far, so he's got a Mardu type deck. I wonder if we're seeing some kind of maybe like Mardu vampires. Not something I've seen before, but I don't think the kind of the 2 different vampire types would really mix, the madness and the so what we're going to do here is actually going to put Possessed Skaab into the graveyard, just because we've got the potential to bring it back with the Necromantic Summons anyway. Or Rise from the Grave also works for me. Yeah, I think we'll swing with the Prized Amalgam, see if he blocks with one of his creatures. So he's going to block with the 3/1. There we go. Works for me. Removes 3 damage from the board, and we've got the potential to bring it back quite easily next turn with a Rise from the Grave on top of the Possessed Skaab. Probably be the play there. So he's going to swing for 2. I'm obviously not going to block with my Jace, as I want to be able to keep using him as a way of putting things into the graveyard. So he's played himself a Blood Cursed Knight out. So we are going to tap Jace here. And do we drop an island in there? I think we probably do. Or do I drop, say, a Necromantic Summons and then just bring it back with we'll put a Necromantic Summons in there and bring it back with a Rise from the Grave. When we bring back our what's it called? Possessed Skaab, that's what I'm looking for. So we won't be doing anything this turn. So just skip attack, and I'm just going to Rise from the Grave, and we're going to grab the Possessed Skaab. And then we would like to return Necromantic Summons. Thank you very much. There we go. And then we also should get our Prized Amalgam back as well. Very nice. So this creature gets +1/+1 and has lifelink whenever he controls an enchantment. I don't know what kind of enchantment he might be running in this kind of deck. Like I said, just seems to be a hodgepodge of vampires. Okay, so he's played an Anguished Unmaking. Come up, pause, go, God! I wanted to tap there. Oh, thank God we did it just in time there. Whew. We will actually toss away Sire of Stagnation. I think is a good idea there, because that way we can Necromantic Summons it. So we did manage to exile my Jace, but I'd say that was not too much of a problem. Ooh, we've got Omnath, which we're not going to be able to play unless we find some way of tossing it away. So I'm going to swing with both of these, see if he blocks. If he does, that's fine, because we get Prized Amalgam back anyway. So he's deciding here whether or not he wants to block. So he's going to block the Possessed Skaab. So that was an okay trade there. So that does get exiled, unfortunately, but we are going to bring back Sire of Stagnation from the graveyard. There we go. Nice 5/7 creature. So yeah, this is a pretty tasty one, as he's going to be reluctant to play mana out now, which is good for us. See what this guy does. He's kind of thinking about it. Is he, like I said, he's going to be reluctant to play out mana now. So he played out Vampiric Rites. So sacrifice a creature, you gain 1 life and draw a card. Okay, so like I said, he's going to be reluctant to actually play out mana now, which is good for us. Ooh, Sinister Concoction. That's what I want to see, because that's going to allow me to actually toss Omnath into our graveyard now. So I'm actually going to do this now, because I want to destroy the 4/3. So I said we lose a life, but that's fine. And we put his Blood Cursed Knight into the graveyard. We can actually Necromantic Summons Omnath this turn if we want to, which is kind of nice. So I want to see if he blocks here against the 8 damage incoming, which he does not. So yeah, we'll just Necromantic Summons out. I hate the way it goes to my opponent's graveyard first. I really just want to go to my own graveyard. So this is now a 7/7, which is pretty terrifying for him, I'm going to be honest. And he's just decided to leave the game. Okay, that was a pretty good first run out for the Reanimator deck. So let's move on to game number 2. Okay, guys, here we are for game number 2. So we're playing the rank 37 Darthpag, I believe that was. Odd name, but yeah, I'm actually going to keep this hand. I mean, we've got the Sinister Concoction, we've got the Jace, so not too bad. So we can use this to obviously start sifting through our deck, finding some big creatures to drop into the graveyard. If we draw any, we've obviously got Sinister Concoction to drop it into the graveyard as well. Yeah, is that Darthpag? Okay, interesting name. So what do I drop here? I'm going to drop the Swamp. No, oh no, what am I doing? Oh, that was dumb. I didn't actually play out Jace there, so that was completely my own fault. Sorry about that, guys. I thought I'd already played a blue mana out, so I derped out a little bit there. So we've got some black on our opponent's side of the battlefield. And some green as well. So he's got Obsessive Skinner. When it enters the battlefield, put +1/+1 counter on target creature. So that's going to become a 2/2. At the beginning of your opponent's upkeep, if there are 4 or more card types in your graveyard, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. That's actually quite a nice card. But we are just going to play out Jace this turn. We can destroy that if we really want to with the Sinister Concoction. But we'll probably take the 2 damage for at least 1 or 2 turns until hopefully we find something better. So yeah, that was really silly of me. I should have been able to play out Jace last turn, but so I'm assuming he's going to swing. Yep. Hasn't played out any mana yet, so if he doesn't play out any mana, I am actually going to destroy that. It does indicate to me that he is mana screwed. Nope, okay, so he's got a Vessel of Nascency. What does that one do again? Okay, so he has got a mana. Ooh, we've got Omnath, which is nice for us, so we really want to get that into the graveyard if possible. So I think we're just going to play out the Submerged Boneyard here. Skip attack. Game kind of freaked out a little bit there. So I think he was on about, oh right, yeah, he wanted to do his Evolving Wilds and something went completely wrong there. So we are just going to destroy you this turn. Put Omnath into our graveyard before he can swing. So what does that Vessel of Nascency do again? Reveal the top 4 cards of your library. You may put an artifact, creature, enchantment, land or planeswalker card from among them into your hand. Okay, so what's that? Look at the top 4, put the rest into your graveyard. So yeah, Delirium deck we're probably playing here by the looks of things. So it's Delirium, it is Shadows of Innistrad, isn't it? Yeah, it's one of the new keywords. So he doesn't really know what to do now. I've destroyed his Obsessive Skinner. Okay, so he's got a Kindly Stranger. So she can basically flip Kindly Stranger if Delirium triggers. So let's also tap Jace here. See what we find. We found a Possessed Skaab, so I'm almost tempted to just toss you into the graveyard just so we can... we've got 2 targets for Ever After later on. We've got another Possessed Skaab, which... do I bring you back now? I could bring back Sinister Concoction, to be fair, which works for me. Yeah, that's actually quite a good play there. So it's going to allow me to bring back Sinister Concoction to destroy other creatures, so we shall do that. So he's going to pop Evolving Wilds. That still won't have Delirium, which is good for us. And then we'll bring back... Oh, we can't... Oh, right, yeah. My bad. So, we're going to have to bring back Possessed Skaab then. Yeah, I thought I could bring back Sinister Concoction, but yeah, I remember now that Possessed Skaab is only target instant, sorcery or creature card, not enchantments, unfortunately, so that was completely my own fault. So actually saying that, we can just toss it away again using Jace, so, you know, never mind. Panic over. Yeah, I can just toss away Possessed Skaab again when Jace comes down. Or, depending if I find something better, I'll have a better Ever After target anyway, so... So if I find a mana, I really want to keep another one so I can actually trigger Omnath the turn afterwards. So we're going to have to obviously play out a 6th mana to play out Ever After, but I would love to have 1 more mana knocking around for us to actually then trigger Omnath and develop a 2nd elemental creature on the board as well. So at the moment this guy is a little bit flummoxed about what he wants to do, so he is looking for the top 4 cards. So does that mean that triggers Delirium? So he's managed to find a Seed Guardian. So let's see what he does. So I'm guessing he's going to put Seed Guardian into his hand. Does that now mean that that has Delirium? Not yet. That's still only 3 card types in his graveyard, I suppose. So yeah, Kindly Stranger still can't trigger Delirium and flip into the Demon Possessed Witch, which is a 4/3 with the ability to destroy a creature. Did he put the Seed Guardian in hand? No. Because that still doesn't have Delirium, which is interesting. So even though he put the Seed Guardian in there, so he's also gone for Gather the Pack. So he's looking for reveal the top 5. So is that now... Yep, that does now have Delirium. So we will flip Jace here. See what we get. So we do have that bonus mana, which is good. cool. So, ooh, we've also got an Oath of Jace for later on as well. So, we're just going to swing with the Possessed Skaab here. I highly doubt he's going to swing. So there, he's just going to swing like so. See, I'm almost tempted to, what's the word I'm looking for? Not play out Ever After here, just because I know that he might flip the Kindly Stranger and then just destroy my Omnath. But at the same time, now let's go for it. So we're going to go Omnath and Possessed Skaab. So I'll be right back, guys. My wife is just calling me, so I'll be back in a moment. Hello? You're right. Yeah. Okay. Okay, sure. That's fine. Let me know when you're almost back and I'll start dinner. Okay. Okay, see you in a bit. Okay, love you, bye. Okay guys, so I'm back. Yeah, just had a phone call from my wife. The weather's absolutely terrible in the UK today, and she's basically telling me that the roads are all flooded and she's going to have to take the long way home from work. So yeah, sorry about that. But this guy has not done anything so far. As you can still see, he's still on his main phase, still deciding what he wants to do with Kindly Stranger. Okay, so he's just going to play out Ceaseless, which basically means Omnath is probably going to die, but at the same time, that does mean that we can just destroy the Kindly Stranger if he decides to -3 Ob. So yeah, he's just going to destroy Omnath, so we can just destroy his Kindly Stranger. And then we are just going to flip Jace here. We will take the Mindwrack Demon, I think, is quite a nice one. So at least we can kill Ob this turn with one of our Possessed Skaabs, which is pretty cool. We do have another island. I might save that for... So you can go for Ob, you can go his face. I'm going to play out Oath of Jace just because I need to find some more Reanimate cards. So Ob dies. Let's see what else we can find. So we shall take the Necromantic Summons, Prized Amalgam, and the... land can go to the graveyard. I think will be quite good here, and then we also have a telling time to draw some cards on his off step as well. So we are doing pretty damn well here, I'm going to be honest. Everything's coming up Ollie right about now. It's amazing that usually I find that I perform my decks perform worse when I'm recording as to when I'm practicing, but it seems today that my deck is actually performing better while recording than it is during practice, because I sometimes found with this deck is that I don't know, I found more aggro. Okay, so he's got himself a Green Warden of Marassa, so he can bring back, I don't know, an Ob. See what he finds. What else have we got? So he's going to bring back Ceaseless. What a surprise. So we're just going to telling time here then. See what we find. So I think we'll grab Sinister Concoction. And do I grab the Swamp or the Prized Amalgam? I think I'll grab the Swamp here actually. Reason being is that I can actually then grab what's I'm looking for? Omnath. And then also drop a mana next turn. So that's quite nice. So you're going to activate, doesn't matter. Okay, oops, I forgot to actually flip Jace, that was a bit silly of me. So we're just going to Necromantic Summons here. Going to grab Omnath. We'll also get our Prized Amalgam back, which is quite nice. So we then drop the Swamp, which will trigger the additional creature. We're then going to destroy Green Warden of Marassa, because we can. Yep, we'll obviously toss away our Mindwrack Demon. So he's going to be able to bring back another card. What do we toss away? Another mana by the looks of things. So we'll be able to flip Jace next turn, potentially. So he's going to bring back the Kindly Witch. So he's going to swing for 6, take him down to 8. So if he plays out Ob here, destroy Omnath, we push through 3 damage and he's basically tapped down, and we've got another 3, 6, 9, 14 damage to punch at his face. So I think at this point, unless he's got something like, I don't even think Languish would help him here, because it would, again, would tap him mostly down. We'd still have our 2 elementals. So he's gone for the Possessed Skinner. Don't really want to... Oh, there we go. So yeah, that was a win. Excellent. So I don't think I really have time for a 3rd game today, so we'll probably just round off the episode here. A couple of pretty fun games. The deck performed exactly the way it was supposed to, so it's glad to see. We're up to rank 36, so it's probably my joint highest I think I've been this season. I mean, I'm enjoying this season a lot more than I did last season, mostly because last season I struggled to even get into the top 30, whereas in this season I've pretty much, as soon as I got to the top 30, I don't think I've dropped out of it. I got pretty close once, I think, or I may have gone down to rank 29 once and then got straight back to rank 30. So yeah, I'm having a lot of fun this season compared to last one. Like, last one was just mostly dominated by Monvuli Acid Moss, and it was just an absolute slog to get anywhere, really. Whereas this one, I've had a lot of fun making decks. All the new cards from the 2 expansions have been extremely fun, and yeah, I'm just having a good time. I've got a lot of gold saved up. I'm, you know, 2/3 of the way there to being able to just outright buy Eldritch Moon, and we're still only halfway through June, and it's, you know, it's not going to drop until at least the end of July at the earliest. So I've still got a month and a half to save up gold for Eldritch Moon and start saving gold for whatever the expansion is afterwards. I can't remember what it's called now off the top of my head. I have looked at it, what it is, but I can't remember what it is. Oh, it's Chandra's plane, whatever it's called. Yeah, what's it called? If we go story mode, Origins, Chandra, Kaladesh. Yes, the Kaladesh is the next expansion. So we're going from Innistrad to Kaladesh. So yeah, we'll round off the episode here for now. As always, guys, don't forget to comment and like if you enjoyed the episode. If you're new to the channel, it's always nice to see you hit subscribe. But apart from that, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.